I'm a developer for a major food delivery app. The priority fee and driver benefit fee go entirely to the company. The drivers see none of it. I'm sharing this from a library Wi-Fi on a burner laptop because I'm bound by a strict NDA. But honestly, I don't care anymore. I put in my 2 weeks yesterday, and I hope they come after me. For the past 8 months, I've watched the code roll out, and I can't sleep knowing I helped build this system. You might think the algorithms are rigged against you, but the reality is much more disheartening. I'm a back-end engineer, and in our weekly meetings, product managers discuss how to squeeze every last bit of profit from what they call human assets. They talk about drivers as if they are just resources, not real people trying to make ends meet. The priority delivery is a complete illusion. When you pay that extra fee, it merely changes a flag in the order system. But it doesn't actually speed anything up. We even ran a test where we didn't speed up the priority orders. We just delayed the non-priority ones to make the priority feel faster. Management loved it, and we made millions by making the standard service worse. What truly makes me sick, and the main reason I'm leaving, is the desperation score. This hidden metric tracks how desperate drivers are for cash based on their acceptance behavior. If a driver logs on at night and accepts every low-paying order, the system tags them as high desperation. Once tagged, they stop seeing higher-paying orders. The logic is simple. Why pay a driver $15 when they'll accept $6? Then there's the benefit fee. You've probably noticed that $1.50 fee on your bill after recent labor laws. It's designed to make you feel like you're supporting workers. But that money goes straight to a corporate fund used to lobby against driver unions. You're literally paying for lawyers fighting to keep your delivery person struggling. As for tips, we've essentially turned it into a new form of theft. We don't take them outright anymore, but we use predictive modeling to lower base pay. If the system predicts you'll tip well, it offers the driver a low base pay. If you tip nothing, they get a higher base pay just to move the food. Your generosity ends up subsidizing us instead of rewarding the driver. I'm frustrated and I'm angry. I just needed to get this off my chest before it all disappears.
Money has officially changed my dog. My beagle grew up in a humble home. She never experienced the luxuries that many dogs take for granted. Her idea of fun was chewing on my shoes or any random object she could find on the floor. Her meals consisted of basic dog food bought in bulk. As a broke student, all I could offer her was my love and care. When I returned to school, there was no one to look after her. My dad and I both worked late, so I had no choice but to let my sister adopt her. Little did I know this was the start of her social climber era. At my sister's house, she has her own cozy bed, eats premium food, enjoys mountains of plush toys, and gets groomed monthly. She even sleeps in a room with air conditioning. But what's infuriating is that when I visit, she barks at me like I'm a stranger. I know I'm not wealthy, but I wish she wouldn't be ashamed of me. I want to remind her of her roots before she starts acting like she's above me. I visited her today and brought some fried chicken leftovers. She just sniffed it, walked away, and rolled her eyes at me. Excuse me? She used to love rice with noodle soup broth. My sister even changed her name from Bella to Ruby. It's such a dramatic name. You'd think she's a character from a telenovela seeking revenge for being abandoned. I didn't expect that a dog's attitude could change with a taste of wealth. Money really does change everyone, even dogs. She's become so snobbish and elitist, you'd think she comes from old money. But honestly, it makes me happy to see her spoiled and living comfortably. It's an achievement to see my fur baby in a good situation. Still, part of me feels like she's disowned me, trading our past for a lavish life. Enjoy my sister's wealth while you can, because when school break starts, it'll be Tibble and rice for you again.
I live in Minneapolis, and I'm horrified. I don't know what the rest of the country is seeing, but things are really bad here. ICE is targeting anyone who isn't white. They don't care if they have a warrant or if what they're doing is legal. They're just taking anyone who looks suspicious to them. Our neighbors are terrified to leave their homes. Minneapolis public schools closed last week because ice was frightening students and teachers as they left for the day. The city is now offering e-learning so people can stay inside. Many businesses keep their doors locked during business hours because owners fear ICE will barge in without a warrant and take their employees or customers. For many businesses owned by people of color, you have to knock and wait for someone to decide you're safe to let in. Some places are closing early or not opening at all because of ICE. People are scared to walk to and from their cars, knowing ICE waits for vulnerable moments to snatch someone off the street. I watched my neighbors get dragged from their home last week while their young child stood in the doorway crying. They're going door to door, taking anyone who seems illegal, which often means anyone who isn't white or speaks a different language. Just last week, they shot one of our residents in the face and killed her for trying to drive away. The officer hasn't been arrested. Ironically, an ICE agent nearly hit me with their car the day before that, simply because I was recording him and asking him to leave. They have no rules and no accountability. They threaten anyone who opposes them with mace, tear gas, and guns. They've broken windows and maced car vents just for observing them legally. Everyone in my neighborhood is terrified, and I don't think most people grasp how bad this really is or how much worse it could get. We're having to patrol our neighborhoods to protect each other from being terrorized or taken. This may seem like an exaggeration to anyone who doesn't live here, but it's not. I've been patrolling my neighborhood for weeks now, and I'm horrified by what I've seen. The sound of car horns and whistles now gives me anxiety because my nervous system associates it with ICE. The only good thing about all of this is seeing the community come together to support and protect one another. Things are scary right now, but I truly love the people of Minneapolis.
I told my little brother I don't remember our childhood, and I hate myself for it. I'm 31, and my brother is 24. Yesterday, he called me out of the blue, after years of silence. Not from a fight, just life and distance. He sounded nervous, but hopeful, sharing that he had been going through old things at our mom's place. He found a shoebox filled with random items, a report card, a broken Game Boy, and a photo of us on the couch, both wearing blank expressions. Then he asked me, very quietly, "Do you remember when Mom used to make us sit in the hallway when she was mad?" My stomach dropped because yes, I remember it like it's branded on me. I recall the carpet pattern, the smell of laundry soap, and counting the cracks in the wall to keep from crying. If I cried, it only got worse. He brought up a specific night from our childhood when he got sick and felt like no one noticed for hours. He wondered if he imagined it or if it actually happened. I heard my own heartbeat, and instead of being honest, I told him, "I don't really remember that, sorry." He fell silent, then said, "Okay, maybe I'm mixing it up, trying not to be a burden." I kept going, saying we had a normal childhood, that we were fine, that Mom was just stressed. It felt like I was reciting a script I've used my whole adult life. The moment I hung up, I started shaking. I realized I had done the very thing that hurt me. I made him question his own reality. I don't even know why I did it. Part of me wants to protect our parents because they're older now, and I'm tired. Another part is terrified that if I admit I remember, I'll have to feel it all again and support him when he falls apart. I'm not sure I can do that. But he deserved better than my lies to keep things peaceful. I keep replaying his little okay, and it feels like I betrayed him twice, once back then by being helpless, and now by choosing comfort over truth. I just needed to share this because I can't stomach myself today. I broke up with my boyfriend because he took a job as a deportation officer at ICE, and I can't stop second-guessing myself. I need to share this because it's been weighing heavily on me, and I don't really have anyone to talk to without it turning into an argument. My boyfriend, who is 27, recently accepted a position as a deportation officer. I ended our relationship over it. It hurts. I didn't want to do it, but I couldn't ignore a huge part of who I am and what I believe in. When he first mentioned applying for the job, I felt uneasy. I tried to keep that feeling to myself because I didn't want to seem judgmental. I understand the job market is tough, and landing a federal job is a significant achievement. It comes with great benefits, good pay, and stability. I could see why he was excited. It felt like a big step forward for him, and I didn't want to ruin that moment. But I couldn't shake how much it troubled me. The thought of working in a role that involves removing people from the country, sometimes those who've lived here for most of their lives, goes against everything I care about. I've always held strong beliefs about immigration and human rights, and this job felt like the complete opposite. We discussed it multiple times. He didn't understand my perspective. He kept saying it's just a job, or that he's not the one making the laws, just enforcing them. While that might be true, to me, it felt like a line I couldn't cross. I couldn't envision being in a relationship with someone doing that kind of work, even if they are a good person otherwise. So I ended it. Now I'm left wondering if I made the right choice. Some friends think I overreacted, letting politics interfere with a good relationship. Others completely understand and say it was the right thing to do. I just feel torn. I still care about him. I know he's not a bad person, but I also realize I couldn't pretend this didn't matter to me. That's all I wanted to share. Thank you for listening. Female colleague let me use her Reddit account to do posts online. And I finally get why women are so cautious when it comes to dating men. Long story short, I was chatting with a female colleague about dating apps and the challenges of modern dating. We discussed how women seem to have so many options, but she pointed out that this abundance can make it hard for men to connect, especially if they don't meet certain expectations. She opened up about her wariness when it comes to dating and why she feels cautious around men who pursue her romantically. Then, she let me use her Reddit account, which she usually uses for makeup tutorials. She encouraged me to turn on the chats and see what happened. I was shocked by the flood of messages she received. She posted in spaces focused on fashion and beauty, so I expected some attention, but not like this. Her inbox was overflowing, with over 500 messages. There were different types of people reaching out. Some came with genuine intentions, offering fashion advice based on her pictures, but quickly shifted to asking if she was dating. Others simply asked if they could chat. Then there were those who showered her with compliments, saying things like, "You look beautiful," or "Wow, you're so hot." And then there were the more explicit messages. Some men were blunt, saying things like, "You're sexy, let's hook up," or even sending unsolicited pictures. This experience really changed my perspective on dating. I was taken aback by how many men presented themselves as nice guys, only to quickly shift their intentions to something more personal. It's unsettling to see how quickly some of these guys wanted to exchange details or meet up, often without even sharing a photo. I've learned a lot from this, and while it will take time to process, it's opened my eyes to the realities many women face. I'm actually excited to be laid off. A few months ago, I received notice of my layoff. Since then, I've gone on several job interviews, but nothing has come through. My official last day is December 31st. After that, I'll receive about 6 months of severance, along with a payout for my unused vacation, around 8 weeks worth. In total, I'll have about 8 months of my salary, plus a little extra from unemployment. With all these factors, I estimate I can manage for about a year without dipping into my savings, which could last me another year if needed. I've even moved to a smaller apartment that's $600 cheaper than my old place. Being single, childless, and debt-free means I don't have major obligations weighing me down. My friends, family, and even coworkers seem anxious on my behalf, urging me to find another job as soon as possible. But honestly, I don't want to. I'm actually excited about the chance to take a break without worrying about finances. I feel like I may never have an opportunity like this again, a chance to step away from work for over 6 months and just breathe. This past year has been incredibly tough for many reasons, and I want to use this time to reset. Just to clarify, I will keep looking for a job. I never plan to stop completely. However, my loved ones are pushing me to take any job available, even if it means a demotion or switching industries. Right now, I don't feel desperate enough to do that. I'll continue my job search, but only for positions that truly interest me. If nothing comes up in the next 6 months, then yes, I'll consider exploring lower positions or other fields.
While taking a family photo, I realized I broke my family's generational trauma. Growing up, I witnessed my mother endure so much pain. She was often shouted at and hurt, and I faced the same when I made mistakes that every child makes. The thought of going home after school, especially when my dad and some relatives were around, filled me with dread. During family gatherings, when it was time for photos, my brother and I struggled to smile or stand still as our dad wanted. His anger would erupt, and we would be scolded to the point of tears. Just thinking about those moments makes me tremble. It would ruin our entire day. My mom often told me how my grandfather was even worse, and his father before him was no better. Both were heavy drinkers, and she feared I might end up the same. To protect me, she encouraged me to stay away from home after school. Now, living far away, I have a loving wife and a beautiful daughter. One day, my daughter used my wife's nail polish and lipstick to draw on the wall. My wife was understandably upset and called me explaining what happened. Our daughter, hiding in her tent, asked her to call me for help, hoping I would save her from punishment. In that moment, my heart swelled with happiness. She wanted me there when she made a mistake, trusting and loving me in a way I could never have imagined with my dad. I went home and chose not to be angry. Instead, I talked to her about how her actions could cause problems for both of us, and how we would need to clean it up together. I even bought her some drawing books and colored pencils to encourage her creativity. The most important moment came when we were about to take our family photo. My wife and daughter were ready, and as I set up the timer, my daughter started giggling. Soon my wife joined in, and I couldn't help but remember how different my childhood was. In that moment, I felt a sense of power, a cosmic shift that offered me a glimpse of peace from my past. I began to laugh with them, and we all burst into laughter, completely losing track of time. We laughed for a good 5 to 10 minutes before finally taking the photo. In that picture, my daughter was beaming, my wife was on the verge of bursting into laughter, and I wore a genuine smile. It's my favorite family photo now. I realized I have the power to choose how we respond to mistakes. I decided that in our family, laughter would prevail, and no one would be shouted at or punished. The trauma ends with me.
The ER sent my 11-year-old home with signs of sepsis. 2 days later, he was in septic shock. Now, the hospital is facing federal violations. On December 23, 2023, my son Nicholas came to the Methodist Southlake ER. He had a fever, was vomiting, and felt dizzy. His heart rate was racing at 130, and his blood pressure was alarmingly low. Despite these clear signs, they sent us home with a diagnosis of a viral infection. They gave him just a small amount of fluids, stopped the IV too early, didn't draw blood cultures, and failed to give him antibiotics. The nurse didn't document that he couldn't urinate, even though the doctor had ordered it. They assured us everything was normal, but it wasn't. By Christmas morning, Nicholas was so weak he could barely move. We rushed him to Cook Children's, where he was immediately diagnosed with septic shock from Group A strep. He was admitted to the PICU, where he underwent multiple surgeries and needed medications to stabilize his blood pressure. He spent over a month in the hospital, and now at 12, he faces lasting joint damage, kidney issues, and heart complications. Federal investigators later cited Methodist Southlake for failing to provide proper medical care and for falsifying records. To all parents, if your child shows signs like fever, a high heart rate, low blood pressure, and abnormal lab results, insist on a thorough sepsis workup before leaving the hospital. Don't trust that everything is okay just because a doctor says so.
I gave my mom the bracelet she now loves because I wanted to hurt her feelings. I tried sharing this before, but it got taken down, so here I am. My mom wasn't the perfect mother, but she wasn't terrible either. She had kids for the wrong reasons, had too many, and wasn't prepared for two of us to be autistic, me being one of them. She made some questionable choices, but she also did a lot right. As a child, I was close to her, but from age 10 to 17, we were more like enemies. It took me until I was 19 to let go of the bitterness I felt about my childhood and teenage years. Once the tougher parts of parenting were behind her, she became the mother I always wished for. And as I grew up, I mostly moved past my frustrations. But when I was 18, while shopping for Christmas gifts, I came to her name on my list. I was in one of those phases where old grievances resurfaced, and I felt angry about things from the past. I thought, I won't spend more than $5 on her. She doesn't deserve it. That thought was harsh. I found a cheap bracelet at Walmart with cute charms I thought she might like. I decided that everyone else would receive nicer gifts, but she would only get this. My intention was to show her that she meant less to me than everyone else. I wanted her to see how little thought went into that simple bracelet and feel hurt by it. On Christmas, she opened it and loved it. She immediately tried it on, hugged me tightly, and it seemed like it was her favorite gift of all. She wears that bracelet often, at least a couple of times a week. Every time I see her wearing it, I feel terrible. She opened it thinking I gave it to her out of love, when in reality, it came from a place of anger and spite. I don't think I'll ever tell her. And God is a reason why. My best friend pretended to be my friend for years just to sleep with me. We met in college while living in a shared house. The rent was cheap and everyone was broke, so about 15 of us lived there. It was chaotic. The house was dirty and poorly maintained, but the people were nice. I made some really good friends, and one of them was Mike. I didn't feel a romantic connection, so I wasn't interested in him that way. Still, we spent a lot of time together, grew close, and eventually became best friends. Over 5 years, we both dated other people and talked openly about our relationships. Mike was loyal, respectful, and genuinely a good person. There were 2 moments when he showed romantic interest. When we first met, he flirted with me, but I didn't reciprocate. Later, after I ended a 2-year relationship, he tried again. I turned him down firmly, wanting to be clear to avoid any confusion. That breakup was tough. And I needed therapy afterward. I didn't want to jump into another relationship too soon. That was over a year ago. I've been single since, using this time to heal and grow. Then last week, Mike decided to visit. I was really happy about it and offered him a place to stay. I prepared a spare bed, excited to see him again. When he arrived, it felt completely natural. As New Year's Eve approached, he asked if he could kiss me. This time, I felt ready to trust again. I'd known Mike for years, and I believed he wouldn't hurt me. So I said yes, and we kissed. We were older now, and the kiss naturally evolved into something more intimate. During his visit, we shared a personal experience. We slept in the same bed, took showers together, cuddled while watching movies, and even held each other at the theater. It all felt cozy and right. Then his visit ended, and he went back home. I wasn't expecting a full-blown relationship or even a friends with benefits situation. I just thought we would talk about what had happened and figure out where to go from there. But now, he doesn't reply to my messages anymore. We used to talk every day for hours, and now there's only silence. My grandmother changed her will and didn't tell me. I found out after she passed. About 5 years ago, I reconnected with my biological grandmother. Being adopted as a child, I hadn't had a relationship with her until my 20s. When I reached out, she was overjoyed to hear from me. Her daughter, my birth mother, had struggled with addiction and surrendered me as a baby. She passed away a few years before we connected. So finding a biological relative felt incredibly special. A year into our renewed relationship, she told me she would name me executor and beneficiary of her will. I hadn't asked for it. It was her decision, and I accepted it wholeheartedly. We exchanged emails every few months, and I sent her gifts for Mother's Day and Christmas. But in the last year, our communication dwindled. I sent a couple of emails and a custom birdhouse for Christmas, but I never heard back. When I decided to look her up, I was devastated to find her obituary. I couldn't believe she had passed away. I thought maybe she was just busy or had lost her email password. Now, 3 months later, I was left in shock. I hadn't been notified, and I didn't know anyone in her life to reach out to. Today, I've been frazzled trying to figure out the estate. I still had her will, so I called the courts for guidance. That's when I learned she had changed her will this past February, naming others as her executor and beneficiary. On one hand, it's a relief not to worry about the estate, but on the other, I feel hurt that she didn't tell me. It's not about the money, it's the realization that she changed everything without a word to me. Now, my birth mother's ashes, my grandmother's wedding ring, and my baby pictures are in the hands of someone else. It breaks my heart. I was so excited to have a biological relative, and now I feel betrayed and abandoned.